evaluation, and we really ask for you to go into that prayerfully and mindfully. Your feedback is really important to us. So I do want to just take a moment to go into prayer. And then at the request of the worship team, I'm going to read our vision for a new spiritual leader. So just deep breath in. We take our focus and attention away from the busyness of the day or any preconceived ideas and coming into the realization of the everywhere presentness of God, of Source, of Spirit, by whatever name we call it. We know that it is the everywhere presentness of love, of wisdom, of intelligence, of order, of beauty, of life. And we know that those qualities exist in each and every one of us. And we call forth those powers to be activated right here and right now as we are open and receptive to this workshop to learn and to grow. We give thanks for Rev. John's willingness to be here, to present to us all, to step into leadership for our community. And so it is. And now I will read the vision for our new spiritual leader. The spiritual leader of Unity on the River is a heart-centered, inspired teacher and mentor who lovingly embodies the highest and most joyful vision for unity in the river and the world. We know that these visions are already established in Divine Mind, and we pray that we as a congregation can embody the vision that we set forth. We must be the vision that we want to see. And so it is. I'll turn it over to Rev. John. It's your turn. Yay.
Yes. I am John McClain.
I work at McClain.
Like the hospital. Right, I can say that here. There aren't many places in the world where I can, where people understand that. And we are here on purpose. Yes? Yes. This community, this church, is at a very special threshold. In my early work years, I worked in public philanthropy, and a fella came in, one of many, to review grant applications. And cheerfully I said, "Hi, I'm John. Who are you?" "I'm David." And I said, "David, what do you do?" And he said, "I build spaces that place the spirit at the threshold of its possibilities." I still remember that with every cell of my being. I build this guy was a contractor, but he identified himself as I build spaces that place the spirit on the threshold of its possibilities. And that's where we are at any given moment. And our job is to remember that. That's one of the purposes of church, is to remind each other that it is the truth of this moment, which is the only thing we have. In terms of housekeeping, we have a 2-hour window where we're allowed to be here today, and I don't expect anybody necessarily to stay here for 2 hours, but I am willing to talk the whole time, except we will take a break maybe 50 minutes in so you can restore your personal comfort if need be, and I assume that you know where to do that here in this building. I do not, or I would tell you where it was. Downstairs! We can handle your business downstairs. And other than that, Christian, here's a little handout for you, my friend. If you want to take notes, you can do that. Does anybody who likes to take notes need a pen? We have several hundred of them. Everybody? You need a pen. Okay. Unity on the River, special edition. Fantastic. Okay. Today is an opportunity. I'm not here to teach you anything, because the only thing you need to know is something that you hear every Sunday morning. I know that you read your 5 basic principles, and my favorite way of talking about the 3rd basic principle is that life will be to you what you are to it. Life will be to you what you are to it. And so practice. Yes? Do or do not, as Yoda says. But I'm here to talk about what I think the deep purpose of church is now. It's changed a lot, even in my work life. I mean, when I started, it was only a couple of decades ago. But when I started, we didn't even need electricity, let alone computers, or visuals, or PowerPoint slides, and nobody was expected to sing except the same darn song every single week. So things have changed a great deal. And I'm here to share things that are important to me so you will know more about me, and you can judge for yourself whether if any of these ideas are important to you or meaningful or apply to Unity on the River, because I don't know every detail about where this community or where you might be in the unfolding of your soul's adventure. So does anybody know the name Simon Sinek? He did a TED Talk a couple of years ago that was quite a sensation. And he has a whole way of creating a worldview in terms of start with why. Start with why. Now, I'm going to have an answer that I'm going to talk about. But why do we do church? Why do we do church? Yeah.
Peace and quiet.
For peace and quiet. Okay. To be centered. Well, I like that one. To praise God.
Peace and quiet. Community.
Peace and quiet and community. Like-minded people. To hopefully receive some inspiration. Yes. Yes. Support. All kinds of support, right? Community support, prayer support, support in consciousness. Recalibration. Great. Spiritual education. Nice.
To be activated.
To be activated. Activated. Yes. To sing. To sing. To conspire. To breathe together by singing. Yes. To grow. All great.
Witness.
To witness.
Validate.
Say more about that, please. To be witnessed or
To do both, actually.
do both, to
And
give
then-
and receive.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 No disagreement with any of these. They're all totally valid, right? And correct. But I'm going to go way back, go deeper and deeper and deeper to unpack this. Because these are things hoped for. And why do we hope for them? Why do we expect? I am a New Thought student and teacher. And I've had the privilege of being both ordained in religious science and unity. And I'm also fairly Buddhist. I'm not Buddhist, but I am Buddhist. And I was saying to Mark, I grew up in New York where I wished that I had been Jewish, so I'm a little-ish. I'm a little-ish. But the Buddha said, first noble truth, life is suffering. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a good unity message. I don't want to hear that nonsense. What about some positive thinking here, pal? We suffer because we do not feel seen. We suffer because we don't live in a larger world of peace and quiet. We suffer because sometimes some of us feel estranged from community, that we lack the inspiration we need or the growth opportunities that we require. How rude. Jesus was calling me. He'll have to leave a message. Or to grow with the challenges that we have in our life. We suffer because we need to be recalibrated because we get out of whack as we collide with other people's intentions and experiences. We suffer because we don't have enough opportunities, or we don't make the time to praise God as often as we could. We suffer because we don't feel activated. We don't feel that we're in our power, and that we find ourselves not amongst like-minded people a great deal of the time. And sometimes we suffer because we need spiritual education. We just don't have all the information that we could use to live in skillful means. Yes? So I think that when Buddha says life is suffering, that's what he is talking about. That we don't have as much good around us as we would like. So we seek both community to do things with, and we seek respite. We seek understanding. This is very simple, yes? There is, for me, a construct about why and how we do church. And it's based on 4 basic ideas, 4 commonalities. Because, I ain't trying to sell you anything. I'm not forcing anything down your throat. I've got nothing in my teaching or my worldview that wants you to suffer. I only want you to be uplifted. That's the essence of our teaching, of the New Thought worldview. And I do believe that it's based on 4 very simple, a church community, very simple, basic ideas. And those ideas are common knowledge, common sense. This is what's on your handout. Common courtesy and common cause. For my money, and why I'm still devoted to church work, is that I believe that church offers an absolutely unique, meaning you can't experience this anywhere else, opportunity where you can come and be in community where, hopefully, everyone is on the same page. Even if we are not walking exactly the same path, we're committed to experiencing God on a path which is recognized as a peaceful path, not a violent one. To say that we welcome all paths to God, I don't. I don't welcome a path to God that has no use for women. I don't. Women. I was in an interfaith group for many years in Nashville, Tennessee, and they said, does your denomination have problems with women preaching? And I said, problems with women teaching? It was founded by a woman. What don't you get about it? Oh, it's not okay, and not okay with us. I'm not going to recommend that path for spiritual exploration. And some people may need it. That's where their soul needs to find foothold in this incarnation, and I'm not going to necessarily judge them. At the same time, I'm not going to recommend it, and I'm going to lift up what we're all about. Is that we know, as George Fox said in 1640, that there is that of God in all. There is that of God in all. Right? When I talk about common knowledge, what I'm talking about is something that is commonly understood and academically, if you were in graduate school, you would call the perennial philosophy. PH, the perennial philosophy. One R, two N's. It was a book that was written in 1946 by Aldous Huxley when he understood, it, bless your heart, when he undertook to understand what it is that peaceful faith traditions all have in common. And if you would like to write this down, you certainly may. The first precept of the perennial philosophy is that there is one reality underneath and inherent in the world of things. There is a divine ground of being that creation rises from. Yes? If Elohim, Creator God, Elohim, spoke this cosmos into existence, it was somewhere, but it hadn't been called forth. This is the divine ground of being that all creation rises from. And guess what? At some point, it will be subsumed back into that divine ground of being. On a cosmic level and on a personal level. That's the first precept of the perennial philosophy. Second one is there is in the human soul a natural capacity, a similarity, and a longing for this divine reality. That there is something in beings that have consciousness like we do, and we know that all things have consciousness at some level. But the kind of consciousness we have appears to have a hunger for something that we would call truth, a hunger, a homesickness for heaven, if you will, right? That is something that all people share. And why do we say that? Because we know through all the traditions, through mythology of all cultures, from cave paintings forward, that people seem to have a longing for something that we call the transcendent, something beyond this experience. And the third aspect of the perennial philosophy is that the best possible thing that could happen for you in this lifetime is that you would get it. That you would remember that you are the thing itself. You are. Just as you are now. You are the thing itself. And then if we were talking about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, anybody? Okay, yay, all about that. The summum bonum, the highest gift, is that when we have completed our hero journey, we come back enhanced. We have something to share with the greater community. And that is both a privilege and a responsibility. Because when we are enlightened, when we see the light, we are accountable for it. That's a value add on my part. It's not enough to know the truth, but you better live it. You have a responsibility, and that is your humanness, your humaneness. You can say, if you know the truth, you have to live it. Well, no, you don't have to. You can be a sorry sad sack if you want to your whole life, and please God, you'll come back another time and, do it better. Maybe. If there is such a thing as reincarnation. Maybe. But if you know it, and if there's something in you that keeps saying, I know better than this, then do it. And get the support you need from other people who have that same worldview. And not say, oh, you're crazy, or that Amy, she's listening to voices again in her head. What's up with her? She thinks she can do better. She's lucky to have what she has. I listened to that for the first 20 years of my life. I don't want to do that anymore. Because, it's not that life is too short to put up with it. It's too long. If you have the great gift of ongoing life to listen to that same boring routine 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, no, stop. Basta. Stop. Enough. This is common knowledge. Everybody who seriously thinks about, teaches, preaches, philosophizes about the purpose of life, it's all based in this kind of common understanding. And we don't know exactly what it is. We'll know about that when we're dead, maybe. Maybe. When we get to the other side, maybe we'll have some insight about it. But you know what? This is the way it works. This is the fact of being incarnate on this planet with the gift of the kind of mental state and consciousness that we have, the mental health that we have. Yes? It makes sense. Why not? Even Fillmore, I have just a few things written down because if I have a quote, I want to make sure I always say it correctly. So Charles Fillmore says, what is unity? Unity is a link in the great education movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. Do you say this on Sundays? Do we know this here? No? It's great. Unity is a link in the great education movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. What was the education? It's done unto you as you believe. What don't you get about that? This is not esoteric, is it? I was very happily raised Catholic in the 50s and 60s. It was fun. Angels, all that kind of stuff, babies in limbo, St. Anthony when, you need to lose something. Right. I don't have any stories about this. It's done unto you as you believe. And here's the thing, I think it's in the book of Mark, chapter 6. I don't know that many addresses, but I think it is Mark 6. When the father comes to Jesus and he says, my son, I've been to every healer and magician that there is, and the devil keeps throwing him into the lake. And if you look this up, you will see how this is written. And Rabbi Jesus says, well, all things are possible for those who believe. No, I said that wrong. He says, does anybody have a Bible? Can you go to BibleGateway.com? Because I really, really, really want to say this right. Oh, Lee, let's give it up for Lee, shall we? How much? You've already gotten applause, so you better come up with it. Mark 6.
Mark 6.
I think. If you can do anything, the Father says to Jesus. See if I was really a professional. But I was improvising in the moment and I got tripped up.
2 more seconds.
2 more seconds. And we're spinning and we're spinning.
Jesus said unto them, prophets not without honor in his own country.
No, not without honor. The boy who gets thrown into the lake because the devil throws him in the lake and all the healers can't heal him.
He commanded that they should take nothing for their journey. Only a staff, no script, no bread, no money.
Nope.
And I don't know what
Okay, give the yeshiva boy a little applause anyway. Nice try. Nice try. Oh, I know what it is. So the Father says to Jesus, if you are able, to Jesus, right? Heal my son. And Jesus' response is, if I am able, all things are possible for those who believe. It's not my job. It's your job. But every time we tell that story, we go, I know. Jesus, I do believe, but help my disbelief. I do believe, but help my disbelief. No, I don't want to help your disbelief. How codependent is that? Man up, it's your child. Believe that he is whole and well and free. I mean, these are essential Jesus teachings, right? Very important. Okay, so that's what Jesus taught. Fillmore goes on to say our objective is to discern the truth in Christianity and prove it. The truth we teach is not new. What is it? It's the perennial philosophy that there's a ground of being and we all incarnate out of that, and at some point we go back to it, and if we're lucky, we'll remember that in our lifetime and experience the life more excellent. When we remember that, Fillmore says the truth we teach is not new. Neither do we claim special revelations or discovery of new religious principles, because they're not different. They've never been any different than they've always been. In the book of Job, so if it's written, the book of Job is written about the year 800 BCE, yes? You will decide on a matter, it will be established for you, and light will shine on your way. You will decide on a matter, it will be established for you, and light will shine on your way. That's not new. That's as old as writing is old. Our purpose is to help and teach mankind to use and prove this eternal truth taught by the Master, and ultimately to prove it to your own satisfaction in your own life. To prove it to your satisfaction. I feel in my life I've had the opportunity to prove principle, to prove it. I have experienced it. I have seen it. I have been blessed by it in every single possible area of human but in at least 50%, at least in 51% of my life, I have proved it. I don't teach this. I wouldn't have the nerve to talk about it if I hadn't experienced it. Because also part of that perennial philosophy is to believe nothing. Actually, the Buddha said this. Believe nothing because it is written down. Believe nothing. And Emerson says, bring all texts to judgment. Same thing, 3,000 years apart. Believe nothing because it is written or because it is said, but because you have experimented and you've seen it. This is common knowledge. That's just the way planet Earth has always worked, and how anybody has demonstrated anything is because they believed they could. I remember, I wasn't still in school, but this was decades ago when Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California. And keeping in mind, he didn't mess it up, right? He didn't mess it up, but somebody says in church, like, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger would be elected governor of California, because he thought he could. He thought he could. I mean, this is what a demonstration is. They cannot be more simple. And they're not simplistic because they're not misleading. You take it on face value. That is exactly what's happening here. People accomplish things, first and foremost, because they believe they can. This is common knowledge, common experience. There's nothing in the little bit of reading I've done in shamanic traditions. There is nothing even different in shamanic traditions that speak to anything other than this essential world view. Hi there, I'm John. Welcome. You! Welcome. You're right on time. Common knowledge. Again, I love this statement by Charles Fillmore because he says, I'm not doing anything special. This just happens to be important. And guess what? He and his wife were prospered. Yeah. So when you get it, you're accountable for it. And when we really get that we're accountable for it, we have a responsibility to pay it forward. It's one of the reasons that I chose ministry. You have a responsibility. The other important thing, I believe, about effective church is that it be based on common sense. Nothing magical, no magical thinking, no magical thinking is allowed anymore, because that didn't do anybody any good. It does for the weekend when you think that, oh my gosh, all I have to do, is think magical thoughts, and that's the law of attraction. And amazing things are going to happen. It doesn't happen like that. I do know people from my time as a civilian in church who have become extraordinarily successful by traditional measures. And people would say, well, what about Buffy? Why did she get so rich and successful in the music business and I didn't? And I can tell you, because Buffy, not her real name, had a smoking work ethic before she even started. There was no magical thinking. The artists that I know that are successful, musicians and visual artists, the ones that I know, work like crazy people, 100% on spec. They get up early in the morning and they make art all day long. All day long. I was in the entertainment business for quite a while, and there are people, if they're a writer, you remember the name Neil Simon, who did The Odd Couple and really big things in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s and whatnot, until the day he died. He got up every morning at 7 o'clock, he made a pot of coffee, he walked in his den, and he typed for 4 hours. Every day of his life, even for decades after he knew that nobody was going to produce anything that he was writing anymore. Writers write, prayers pray, weavers weave, moms mom. That's a creative job. Yes? Yeah. Oh yes. So this is a part of common sense. There's an expression from the Islamic tradition that says, trust Allah and, not but, trust Allah and tie up your camel. It's both and. And we hear that a lot now, but it is both and. And like any good relationship, both people are 100% committed. When you get married, and if you're 50% committed and I'm 50% committed, and we'll get married, and then we'll be 100%. No, you're going to have a quarter. You're going to have a 25% marriage there. Both parties are 100% responsible for the success of that relationship. And that's true in my prayer life too. I expect 100% from Spirit to reveal to me what I cannot see for myself, to meet me more than halfway on my journey. And guess what? That doesn't even start until I start walking on that journey. Until I start walking. Because, God is so dependent, whatever your ideation of a higher power might be. God is so dependent, it'll give you whatever you think about most of the time. Wherever you put most of your energy is what you will get out of life. And if you're thinking about being creative or being a fabulous dad, you're thinking about that most of the time, you'll find a way to have that experience. And if you're thinking that the world stinks and I can't wait till 5 o'clock, or I can't wait till it's beer 30, you're going to be hanging out with a bunch of losers at a bar. And I have 40 years of sobriety, and I know something about hanging out at a bar and being a loser. This is common sense. It's common sense. There's nothing esoteric about it. What do we mean when we say metaphysics? I'll address that. I'm glad you asked. Metaphysics is the name of a book that Aristotle wrote. It's the book that comes after physics, beyond physics. The laws of physics, like Newtonian laws of physics, for every action there's an equal but opposite reaction, right? That's a law of physics. So for every action, if I push this over really hard, guess what? It's going to fall down. There's an equal and opposite reaction to it. In metaphysics, it's not actually a law. So this is for your most advanced students here. You know, I should have asked, who's been doing this for decades? Anybody brand new in this teaching? Okay, nobody's brand new. So you're all advanced students. In metaphysics, for every action, there's an equal and outward reaction. I don't know how it's happening. And I don't know who's doing it. But it's happening. It's not really a law. Scientists would call it an empirical regularity, which means it happens so much that it becomes common sense. You know, anybody ever hear the expression, you'll get out of life what you put into it? We all have. And why is that? Because, it really, really isn't like making ice in your freezer, that the temperature has to be below 32 and the water will turn into ice. We can't quantify it like that. But I know if I am not having an experience of life that I am enjoying or that I find appropriate for me, then I need to make more effort in the direction of what it is I say I want. I might be repeating some of this tomorrow, so pretend you're hearing it fresh. If it's on my mind, it's on my mind. Myrtle Fillmore, in her healing letters, writes, you say, in response to a letter, there is within you everything you need to have the life you say you want. Right? There is within you everything you need to have the life you say you want. And like a good mother, she says, get at it. Because unless we begin, it's not going to be realized. Unless we call it forth and make a demand on ourselves, which is first a demand in consciousness, it's not going to happen. Spirit can give you anything I was a bartender. And the one question that really annoyed me is people who would sit on the bar, men and women, and they would look at this very large array of alcohol. How can I help you? Oh, I want something. I suppose you do. What do you think I should have? I got 12 million permutations. of adult beverages I can make for you. What do you want? Oh, I don't know. Then we're just going to sit here until someone makes a decision, aren't we? Right? You've seen this happen a million times in your life, right? Just make up your mind. Make a choice. What if it's not the thing I really want? Make another choice. There's no more sophisticated or esoteric teaching than that. In every single religious tradition, they always have a story about a pilgrim who goes in search of the wisest man and climbs the tallest mountain and finds this guy in a cave and says, you must make a choice. So he says, goes back down the hill and he makes a choice and he doesn't have the life that he likes. And he walks back up and he said, I chose, I did my best, and I still hate my life. And he says, what do I do now? And he says, make another choice. There's nothing esoteric about this. But the advanced teaching is also that, we don't want to be addicted to the outcome. We want to be fully committed to the journey, to the pursuit. Because the richness happens when we're walking, and then maybe we'll go this way, and maybe we'll go this way, or maybe we'll come back, and we'll know. What did Dorothy learn at the end of The Wizard of Oz? Say it again.
She had everything within her.
She had everything within her all the time. Why didn't you tell me that, Glinda, good witch? Because you wouldn't have believed me unless you'd made the journey yourself. And the most poetic words I know about that addresses that phenomenon is from T.S. Eliot, who says, we shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. I had it all along. There's a Barry Manilow song about that. I had it all along. But if I don't make the effort and make the journey, I won't know it. I won't have proved it to myself. There's nothing bizarre or esoteric about this. It is common sense. Does anybody have any questions or comments they would like to make at this time? Criticisms? Yes.
Explain metaphysics a little bit more.
In the Sufi tradition, so for me this is metaphysics, in the Sufi tradition it is written that whenever I take a step toward the beloved takes 10 steps towards me. How does that happen? When our intention and our motives are clear, when we're hungry for the right thing for the right reason, we usually get better than what we actually imagined. And our imaginations are very fertile. I will tell you, I love this work. I love it. And one of the reasons I did is I decided I was going to love it. It has turned out to be nothing like I imagined it to be. And the blessings were so profound, and they came from areas that I never imagined that they would. My experience, my empiric regularity, is so regular over the course of a career, if you will, that it must be a law of being. Who is doing this? I don't know. How does it happen? I don't know. That's why it's not of the physical world. The car needs gasoline. Without it, it doesn't run. Where do I get the enthusiasm at my advanced age? I'm out and proud about that. Where do I get the enthusiasm to want to come across the country? and talk about something that I happen to love. We know the origin of the word enthusiasm? Yes? The oracle at Delphi would inhale the sacred vapors and become enthusiasmos. She would become filled with the divine presence of Apollo. It's a Greek word, enthusiasmos. And inside, theos, God inside. Well, I'm not smelling any vapors. But I keep studying, I keep making myself available, and I keep working. And you know, I've been telling this story for 40 years, and I still feel as enthusiastic about it as I did 40 years ago. It just does not get tired or boring. Because success and healing happens differently for every single individual that undertakes the journey. And that's why it's always surprising. It's always a surprise, because it's beyond my imagination. It's not supposed to be in my imagination because it's your life, right? Yeah. Yeah. Does that answer your question at all? You know, there's not a clinical answer for it, but there are observations that we have poetic expressions about. Because again, like I say, where does the enthusiasm come from? I don't know. It's in there somewhere. Is it a gift from God? Call it what you will. But it's not like gasoline for a car.
I wanted to ask about where does grace fall into all of this?
Good question. Where does grace fall into all of this? When I went to Catholic school, we had to earn grace by saying certain prayers a certain numbers of times. We had to, after confession, we had to say 10 Hail Marys and a perfect act of contrition, things like that. Grace, in my understanding of our philosophy, grace is not something that needs to be earned. It is the nature of the superabundant universe itself. Every once in a while, I will use the word lucky instead of blessed. And I was heckled by an old-time New Thought person. There's no such thing as luck. It's all consciousness. And I said, could be right. You might be right. But I don't know that much about consciousness. And guess what? Nobody does. The smartest people on the planet don't have a clue what consciousness is, except it is some kind of emergent property that all of biological life seems to have that we can measure. Even plants. We know plants have consciousness now. So, what did I do to get the grace? What did I do to be so blessed to be born in the United States of America in the 20th century? Sometimes I can be snarky. And tithing has healed my adult life. I said this at lunch. If I didn't once a year tell the story of how tithing healed my fear of financial insecurity, which I inherited from my Depression-era parents, I would be a deadbeat dad. Tithing healed my life. And it is the greatest pleasure I have of giving towards things I want to see more of on the planet. Okay. However, what did I do? Oh, I wanted to say that because it's, if people want to pray for prosperity, and my snarkiness will come out, and there are areas where we want to grow in consciousness always, but stop praying for prosperity. You are drowning in it. You were born in this country in the 20th century or the 21st century. You want to pray for prosperity because you're living in South Sudan? Okay, maybe. But that's not an appropriate prayer request in North America. You are drowning in it. So, what do you want to do about it? You know, this is not only, my mission in life is to remind people. My purpose statement is to share what I love and teach what I know from personal experience. And my great desire is to remind people regularly that this is not a competitive cosmos that we live in, but it is a creative cosmos that we live in. And because that is, for me, the very foundation of my worldview, my belief system, there is nothing other than grace, than opportunity. Not true for 100% of the people on the planet, right? But for those of us that have enough to be here together this afternoon, we're drowning in plenty compared to the rest of the planet.
We're drowning in plenty.
And
The grace is there whether you're in North America or South Sudan, whether you're a being in either of those places.
and if you're a part of a community that has a worldview or a tradition, to be aware of that.
Perhaps.
Because if I don't know that there's electricity is available, I just don't know. My grandparents, that's a tangible thing, and an intangible thing is, and this is where missionary energy comes in. Right? Don't want to do that either. But many worldviews, world cultures just do not have this same grounding in the perennial philosophy that we have the privilege, because we're educated, experienced, sophisticated in some ways. The whole world doesn't have that worldview. The whole India and the ongoing issues of caste and class are so embedded in a culture that you just can't get it. Did anybody ever come into this church for the first time and go, oh my gosh, that's what I've always thought. I just didn't know it was a thing. Right? So maybe grace brought you here because you had an active hunger in your heart and you were searching. None of us would be here if we weren't searching. Anybody born in Unity here? It's been around for 150 years. Why not? Yeah, because we raise our children to think that there's no such thing as an outside God and they're perfect the way they are. They don't need church. This is a step in soul elevation and soul cultivation. And I happen to feel filled with grace, or lucky beyond belief, or blessed, profoundly blessed, that I found a way to find peace and purpose for my life. Purpose was a luxury item. Anybody a psychotherapist here or something? In Maslow's hierarchy, individuation, if you're lucky, I've dealt with the homeless populations in Nashville, Tennessee for years. Individuation, I'm going to freeze to death tonight. Yeah, please.
Yeah, obviously, people have been through a lot of trauma.
Yes.
It takes so much psychic energy to deal with it. They don't have a lot left for the self-actualization. But on the other hand, I do think that there must be some access to grace, even in difficult situations, and especially, I think of the black culture that was enslaved, that were being lynched all the time and degraded, and they were some of the most spiritual people,
Right.
because they had to go vertical.
Would you
sum it up, some of the
mind
questions so
right on your chin like a rock star?
I was saying that although it's much more difficult when people have been victims of childhood trauma or current trauma to have enough psychic energy left to pursue self-actualization. On the other hand, people like the black culture that were victims of, they were slaves, they were being lynched all the time, they were being degraded every day. They were some of the most spiritual people because they had to go vertical.
In order to survive.
In order to survive.
With any kind of dignity.
Yeah.
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 A lot of our work is, thank you so much. Tell me your name again.
Phyllis.
Phyllis, thank you, Phyllis. Is about Amy has been fabulous and helpful to me and picked me up at the airport, so she's hearing everything I have to say. It's going to be like 11 times this weekend. I apologize in advance. Most of us come into or begin a spiritual search. Most, not all. When the God of our childhood fails us. When the God of our childhood fails us. That wasn't supposed to happen. Why don't I have the American dream? That's a whole other thing. What's the American dream? A piece of real estate? What? I don't think so. What's the American dream? Most of us come to this church when our husband left us for a younger woman, when a guy gets fired at 40 because he's too old, right? When a child dies. And an Episcopalian minister says to some of my former congregants, your child is in a better place. Don't you say that to a mother. That's what gets us searching for something that makes sense. But we also have the bandwidth to accommodate notions of grace, new ideas about what a higher power might be, and an ability to tolerate ambiguity. Now everybody isn't born that way. Do you all know spiral dynamics in this church? Is this something you've done to death or brand new? Some of us know something about it. There is a construct that opines that some of us are just born at a certain level of consciousness for a certain experience. And if you need to be in a church that will tell you what to think, then maybe that's where your soul finds foothold. Some of us were born at a different level, or in a culture that has a different worldview. And maybe we explore, maybe we have enough grace, enough gumption to explore, to be a spiritual explorer like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Thoreau, and to be brave and daring and challenge convention. You know, it's all kind of different and it's all unknowable, but at least I give thanks in my life for me being here now, because I found something that made sense to my mind and yet still inspires my heart to grow in bandwidth. Remember when AOL was the only thing in the world that you could get on the internet and it would go, right? Your dial-up thing, whatever it was called. And now it's like, we're watching movies on a telephone. What? But this is because the bandwidth has been increased. I think for a purpose of a contemporary metaphor, maybe Jesus had infinite bandwidth. I mean, the way I tell the story is that Jesus went into that water to get baptized. He heard the voice. What did the voice say? This is my child in whom I'm beloved, who I'm well pleased. Oh my God, Jesus says. He accepts responsibility for that information, and what does he do? He tells other people about it for 3 years. No happy ending. But he does what's his to do. He got this direct download from Spirit. The whole zip file comes down in one download, and it zips in real time. And he goes, I get it. I mean, there's no story about what he was doing before because he wasn't doing anything but living at home. Respectful joke. And his mother says, Jesus Christ, would you get a job? You're 32 years old. Well, the funny thing is that they had no furniture in those days. They didn't. They only had house framers. They sat on the floor. They didn't have chairs. They didn't have anything. So what was he building? Nothing. He was playing video games and waiting for Domino's Pizza to come up from DoorDash. I don't know. Let's take a break. 5-10 minutes. You know where to restore your personal comfort? Yes? Should we do that? It is, if you look at your clock, it is 3:35 Eastern Time, and I'm not leaving. I'll be here. So let's come back in 7 minutes. Yes? Okay, great. Thank you, friends. I'm on? I'm on? Being in a house of prayer, of all people, we should say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. Common knowledge. Everybody has known this forever and expressed it forever.
We're here to do Oive Maria.
Oive Maria. It's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. I've had the privilege of having in my religious science church in Los Angeles, I had a lot of people who were born Jewish and were from New York and picked up a lot of helpful Yiddish with that. So we're here talking about things that really matter in community and the way we choose to do church in our tradition, which is based on common knowledge, common sense, and then we'll talk about common courtesy. I believe that I started by saying one of the most important functions that a church can offer is an opportunity for people to come together expecting that they will be of like mind, not agree on everything, but basically have shared values, have a shared morality and a shared ethic, so that all of our defenses can be down. We forget about the world that we live in. How many people locked their car when they walked into the church here? Because it's going to get stolen. That's just the way it is. You don't lock your front door, some terrorist is going to burst in, steal all your stuff. It's not true everywhere in the world. But it is true here, and because it's our experience here, most people, I'm with you, sister. My landlord's always picking on me. I rent a casita in Santa Fe, and he goes, "Would you please lock the door?" I said, "If they got this far, they're coming in. It's somebody that knows me. No one's coming for my stuff." I closed the door because I don't want coyotes walking in, and they are big. They're not like little cute ones in Southern California. I thought they were wolves out in my backyard. They're big. So I closed the door because I don't want them walking in, and we got bear out in the back, and I don't want to wake up with a bear in my house. But that's the only reason I closed my doors. We want to have at least some place we can go where I'm not going to be judged, and I will be basically affirmed by my presence and my personhood. I don't talk about this often, but I have mentioned that I have 40 years of sobriety. And the thing that continues to encourage me about 12-step communities is that when somebody walks in the first time, everybody in that room knows you can do it. I did it, you can do it. There is power in that. And my hope has always been in our spiritual communities that we would unconsciously, but intentionally, that's oxymoronic, offer that same blessing. Whatever it is that's going on in your life or your friend's life. If life is worth it, and I believe it is worth the effort, even though this is a tough incarnation. This is tough. Life is difficult, and it's worth it. It's worth it. To hang in there, you can do it. You can do it. As Myrtle Fillmore said, you have within you everything you need to have the life that you want, or to recreate, or to start again. You do it. You can do it. I know you can because I have. It's not something I read in a book. I lived it. And that is something that we can offer people. Hugging is iffy. Hugging can be iffy. The number one thing that scares new visitors away? Touching. Do not identify me and do not touch me. And yet, we're huggers.
And we need to be.
And they need to be hugged, but they may not know that yet. It took me a while to learn that. Common knowledge, common sense, common courtesy. What is common courtesy? When you meet people, say hi. You don't have to hug them. But I always tell my greeters, you have a secret superpower. When you make eye contact with somebody, you're opening their soul. You pushed the button that made it active and not on pause. Because our soul is always on pause. Because we're afraid of it getting stepped on. So when you make eye contact with somebody, and that's why frankly I love smaller congregations, because I just want to see your eyes. I don't want you to be so far I can't tell the color of your eyes. Special. It's an appropriate kind of intimacy that I think our souls are starving for. This is common courtesy. Witness the other. I am here. And we are happy that you're here. You make our completeness that much more full. What else is common courtesy? How about the golden rule? Talk about perennial philosophy. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But do it to them first, just in case their taste is inferior to yours, said George Bernard Shaw. Where does that come from? It comes from Rabbi Hillel, who was just the generation before Jesus. He was about 20 years preceding Jesus, one of the great rabbis of ancient time. And he is challenged with the smarty pants. I don't know if they're Pharisees or Sadducees, but let's call them the smarty pants. Go up to Hillel and say, tell me all of the Talmud while standing on one foot. And Rabbi Hillel, is it Hillel or Akiba? Hillel says, do not do to anybody what you don't want them to do to you. The rest is commentary. It's found in the Mishnah. Jesus, and I love this juxtaposition, because Jesus comes about 20, 30 years later, no more than that. Does he know that teaching from Hillel? You bet he does. You bet he does. And Hillel says, don't do to somebody what you don't want them to do to you. And Jesus says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which shows a richer understanding of how Spirit works, because he is inviting us to act first, to put a positive charge into life, one person at a time. The rest is commentary. It really is. You know, again, common sense, common courtesy. You get out of life what you put into it. How can I help you? Be brave. So you won't be fearful. How can I help you? That's what we're here for. How can I help you? And why do I know you can do it? Because there is God, that of God in all. What? Yes, Susan.
So at the risk of sound.
Microphone? Test. Yeah, Susan, right here. Right on your chin like a rock star.
Okay, at the risk of sounding snarky, this doesn't feel like a workshop. It feels like a lecture or a talk.
Yes, that's what I said it was going to be. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
So I am interested in what other people have to say in response to what you are saying. That would be of interest to me because.
Okay, great. Thank you for bringing that up. And I also said at the beginning of this that I would be talking and telling you about where my worldview comes from to see if you thought I had anything to offer to this community. So yes. And you go, so go, let's do that. Go.
Did I turn this on?
Maybe.
Hello?
Yeah, you're there. You're good.
Lost my train of thought. I think there's more of your worldview that will come forth in a dialogue, if you will,
Okay.
or some kind of a discussion. Others may feel differently than I do, but that I'm asking for what I need.
Okay. So
What's your response?
may I ask you then? Yeah, let's lead it off.
I'd like to pose a question instead of a response. So the Bible, you talked about we interpret it metaphysically. And I find that very helpful. But there's so much that we don't know about Jesus and his life on this earth.
Right.
What he said and what he didn't say, what he did and didn't do, because it was written down centuries after he died.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that we can prove, according to history, is that he did live. He did walk this earth.
Well, we don't know that. In a scholarly way, we don't know that. The Jesus Seminar can't verify that. I happen to believe he was an historical person.
I do too,
Yeah.
based on what I've read.
Yeah.
At any rate, so so to say what he wrote, or what he spoke, I'm stumbling.
That's okay. Take your time. We have plenty of time.
In between the words and the pages are things that people have made up. And we don't know.
Yeah.
And I make up stuff, you make up stuff.
Sure.
If I could speak so boldly. But it warrants a give and take to, for me to further my understandings and to see how that fits for me so that I can live my best life, the life that I choose to live.
Right.
It helps me quantify and qualify what I've come here to be.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. So there's no question.
Okay.
That's a response.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Thank you.
I think to some degree we might have been misled because this was billed as a workshop. So I understand what Susan is saying.
Right.
In my, it's helpful to me.
Yeah.
It might not be helpful to everybody here, but like you say, we can change it to change question and answer now if we want to.
Yeah, we can do anything.
Oh, yeah. Q&A's tomorrow. Or Q&A on this topic.
You know, in the broadest way, this community is in process. And you're looking at a variety of people. With the thought, maybe, maybe not. So I feel I have a responsibility to disclose as much about my orientation through my study and experience. So you can go, nope, maybe, mystery date, okay, sure. And I have two opportunities. I have 2 hours today, 2 hours tomorrow for your thought process. I don't assume that anybody needs to learn anything on an afternoon like this, but that my feeling is that I want to offer you a very candid sense of who I am. Because, I mean, we could talk about the Jesus Seminar for 47 years. You know, the reason I think Jesus was an historical person was because he allowed stories about himself to be told where he was talking with women. And no other rabbi is that allowed. So I think, oh, there was somebody who was very interesting because there were consistent stories where he was talking about women, where he protected a woman. I mean, I think it's remarkable. Other than that, there's no hard proof that Jesus was a person. Do you know the Jesus Seminar? Have you read the books and all the red and the gray material and stuff? It's magnificent work that's been going on for decades of scholars at the highest level, interdisciplinary scholars at the very highest level, where they're looking at the Gospels exclusively and thinking, given the time, given the place, given the ambiguity of the Aramaic language, would he really have said this? And then they draw a line through it and say no. And if they feel if he was a real person, they will highlight it in red. I mean, there's just a miraculous work to go on. But again, that's been going on since the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered and published in 47. So it's, you know, I want to be very transparent about what all my biases are and hopefully how my worldview has come together.
This felt exactly what I was expecting from the workshop, was to get a sense of what your cosmology is, how you teach. And that the question and answer period would come tomorrow.
Okay.
But
Also, stop me at any time when you have a question. And this is happening organically, so thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
really, thank you both.
Yes, Mark.
I just want to say that not only have I gotten to know you personality-wise, temperament-wise, but I've learned an awful lot today about a lot of different things. So I think you accomplished everything that you promised to accomplish, and I want to thank you very much.
And we all have needs, right? Which are all valid.
So we don't have to come tomorrow.
Stay home tomorrow.
I might.
You're off the hook. How many hours do you need to put up with this, right?
No, I can listen online. I mean, that's our beauty.
Yes, it is it not? Right, so we'll wave to you tomorrow. Who has the mic now? Yes, Phyllis.
Well, I just want to address your concern. And I think if we believe that we each have the inner Christ or the inner Buddha or whatever you want to call that light, we always choose what we resonate to. If the biblical stories express Jesus' words as written and you resonate fully, spiritually, then that is that inner Christ in you revealing something to you. But we have many denominations because certain people resonate to different things, and depending where they are on their path, their culture, various things are going to respond to different things, and that's acceptable. So I don't think we have to, bury the Bible or not speak to what resonates to each of us.
Thank you. Who else? In the back. Got it, thank you. Tell me your name again.
Andrea.
Andrea.
Hi. I really didn't want to wait till tomorrow to ask you this. Why do you want to be our minister and move to Massachusetts?
That's a good tomorrow question.
It is, okay.
The short answer, if you come, you will hear. I retired in October of 21. My mother, bless her heart, who has not died, was probably going to a couple of years ago. And she's 98 and on Cape Cod. My younger brother did die in October. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And he was in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I came to this church the day after he died, on October the 13th, I think the date was. He died on a Saturday, and I came here because I wanted to be with my people. And here. I sat in the last row. Uh-huh.
What'd you think?
I wanted to be with my people. And I got to be with my people. And I came away from that thinking, I thought I was going to have to be of service to my mom for an ongoing time, but we got her out of Florida. She's up on the Cape now. And I was spending 4 months a year in Florida, going back and forth, and that part of my life is over. She's 98, she will pass soon, but she's safe, and there's other family that lives there, and I have enthusiasm for the work. I learned that I was not done, and that I wanted to live closer to family, because I've lived very far away from my blood family for over 50 years. And to address things that came up at lunch, is I think that these are times of unprecedented moral crisis, and I do not want to sit it out.
Great, thank you.
And I'll probably say exactly the same thing tomorrow.
That's worth repeating.
And I have a certain familiarity with this culture because I graduated from high school on Cape Cod. And I'd never been to Haji's until last night. But I've now been to Haji's. Oh, well, I've been to Haji's. What did you have? Chocolate ice cream with caramel sauce. The world's finest combination, even though I have endured a lifetime of abuse and ridicule. Who else? Yes, ma'am. Because no matter what's going on, I know how to land this plane. Common courtesy, common cause. How will we support each other? There was a thing, yes, ma'am.
Well, I've never been in a place where there's a rule, no gossip. And it's a great rule.
Is there a rule here, no gossip?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people do it sometimes, but at least we're aware it's not profitable or healthy or...
No gossip. Okay, so we talk about that here in this church? We have. Okay. All right, I'm going to land this plane on time. I got 17 minutes. Here's the thing about gossip. It will happen. It's an aspect of common courtesy. Now I'm talking more about Jesus than I have in the last 10 years combined. It was Jesus who said the poor will always be with us. Girlfriend, if you really need to gossip, you need to get a life. That's what Jesus meant by that. Eleanor Roosevelt says that the best people talk about ideas. The next level of people talk about things and events. The smallest people talk about other people. It's just boring. It's just really boring. And sometimes gossip reveals a need for more information. I get it. I get it. I do know one of the things, because I've watched some of your announcements, that you say you do have an anonymous suggestion box here, so you'll feel comfortable sharing your feedback. And I say, oh, hell no. The suggestion box is my email address, Rev. John. If you don't have the nerve or the integrity to talk to me about what may be a fabulous solution, then we have all failed in supporting each other. And if you just want to say, you know, I've always really hated you, my answer is going to be, I really want you to have a church experience that makes you feel good. Go somewhere else. Because, like, I may have a 2-year contract and I'll be here, I'll do the best I can, but go to the Unitarian Church for the next 2 years. Just be happy. You know, what's the Buddhist expression? When you see the Buddha on the road, what? Kill him. Withdraw the projection. Whether you think somebody is superior to you or inferior to you, or they're working your last nerve, or Superman is going to save my life, forget it. None of that matters. So be happy. Yeah. So, common cause. How are we going to support each other? And what other community resources will we align ourselves with so we become a player? Because the thing that I would like to help heal is the notion that unity is value neutral. You cannot have a philosophy and a worldview that has no practical application in life. If it is not an authentic spirituality. If your spirituality does not open you to a greater sense of compassion and belonging, it is an inauthentic spirituality. It may be a fine philosophy, but it is not a spirituality. Spirituality opens us up to spirit-led action. Does that mean there are all these things we have to do? No. It is something to grow into. Because historically, it is not our tradition. And I really know through my study that's how we're very much like Christian Science. Because it was Mary Baker Eddy who said, you cannot hold two opposing concepts in mind. Well, an adult can. We've learned that psychologically. An adult can. But, you know, in every single Christian Science church in the world, on that side of the wall, it says divine love has always met and will always meet every human need. And that's why Christian Science fly without a net. It's either all God or it's nothing. It's an illusion. And that's, unity is Reformed Christian Science. It's disingenuous to say otherwise. And as such, it's a healing. It's an improvement. Like this, I'm sure this is a Reformed temple, right? Why? Because they allow us in here. If it was super Orthodox, they wouldn't allow us to be here. So it invites more life. an experience of more life. Does everybody have to live like that? No, I do. And maybe some of us do. Yes, common cause. Who will we be? Who are we when we are here? Which is not a rhetorical question. I learned that when I used to work with artists and architects in the 70s. And when often constructing a piece of public art for a building, the artists and architects would ask the people that use the building, who are we when we are here? And the answer is, we are people who, or we are people that. We are people, so who are we when we are here? Is there a we? Or is this an I got mine, you get yours religion? We. We are people who see the divine in all. We are people that knows that this whole planet is being prospered and led by a principle that favors life and values healing. We are people that know it's possible for all those who believe. All things are possible for those who believe. And until you can believe it for yourself, I will believe it with you. That's the only job I have. It's the only job your prayer partners, your prayer chaplains have. Until you can believe it for yourself, I'll believe it with you. Because I can't believe it for you. It's like I can't go on vacation for you. I can go on vacation with you, but I can't do it for you. And the same thing with prayer. I'll know it with you until that is God of you comes alive. Yeah. So some kind of common cause, some kind of sense of collaboration. Interpersonally, the individual to this particular community, this community in relationship with the town. That's how we can most be effective.
So would cause then be, like, that's our core values and our mission and our vision statement that we recite every week?
That could be, yes, your mission and vision statement, but then and then how does that lead you individually or us collectively to be involved, to actualize those values and that vision? Yes, exactly. That's the point of it. That's the point of it. So, 422, when a community such as this, if you knew that you would come here on a Sunday or come to class, on whatever that is, and that you knew beyond hoping or beyond wishing, but that you knew that this would be based on some kind of common knowledge and not some esoteric thing, even though I have esoteric interests, and I'm sure many of us do, right? But that's not what happens here. What happens here is a common knowledge, something that human beings have known all over the planet and every culture, all over the world. And that it's based on common sense. Sure, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Is this so hard? So that's going to regulate my behavior when I am here. And I'm going to act with some kind of way of being where someone would recognize common courtesy is what they can expect from me on a fairly regular basis. If not every single Sunday for the rest of my life, on a really regular basis, they will know that I'm somebody who is generally respectful and means well, and then how we will support each other, what we make common cause with, which is a political expression in the world of politics. Who will our allies be in helping create a world that works for everyone? You know, if I knew that all those common things would be in place, and it was reliable. I think that's a pretty uncommon experience of living as a human being. And it would make me devoted to this place and to this teaching and to the people that are here. So, to make a long story clear, if not short, that's what motivates me. That's what motivates me. And I really appreciate your efforts and your willingness to be here. And those who need to leave may certainly leave. And those who want to keep talking, please keep talking. Let's talk. Tell me your name again. What's your name? Anne. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Did you want
I do know some of you from watching the videos. Yeah.
Do you want to pray us out before?
Do I pray us out? Okay, let's pray us out, and then some people can leave, and then we can do
Yes,
questions.
Actually, before you take off, we do have evaluation forms that we would really love for you to fill out. If you can fill them out while you're here, wonderful. If
Christian
not,
has
I know sometimes people like to mull things over and think about what they want to say. If you could please make a commitment to return them to us as soon as possible.
Tomorrow, if not right this second?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
On performance skills. God. Oh, I know. Yeah, I'll be here to scare you tomorrow. But before that, let's pray out. And the only one that I can pray for is me. And I will thank Spirit and all the people that made these good efforts to make this happen, and for the people that gave their time. I will thank them all and express gratitude for time well spent. What a privilege it is for me to talk about how Spirit has enhanced my life and the support and the growth I have found in community, and to hopefully reveal through my sharing that I do value community, that in fact it is the we of me. And I am so blessed to be a part of it. So it is, amen. I will stand here till the cows come home. We're giving them away. They're limited edition Unity pens that we're giving away. Thank you, Mark. You're the bomb. Comment?